You've probably heard over the last 4 years that the 2020 election was rigged or stolen to let Joe Biden win. And you've also probably heard people say that this isn't true and the election was fair. All of these talking points can make it hard to know what to believe. We want to dive a little deeper into the 2020 election results and explain why both Republican and Democratic election officials from across the country don't believe it was stolen or rigged. First, let's talk about it from a numbers perspective. There are more than 10,000 local governments running elections across the country. It would take thousands of election workers working together across thousands of districts to pull off rigging a national election.
Elections are being run by people you know and love, right? And so they're members of your community. It would take an amazingly huge, great, grand scheme to pull off something, and humans aren't great at keeping secrets.
Elections are run by bipartisan teams. That means they include both Democrats and Republicans. And people from all political parties are allowed to watch the voting process and ask questions about it.
The election system is open to the public. It is a public process, and it's so critical that members of the public have the opportunity to observe and to challenge different things. And we saw that observation and challenge process all the way through the 2020 election cycle, up to and including on and after Election Day.
There's a lot of observation points that are built into this. For instance, here in Maricopa County, you can go online to our website right now and you can watch all the live streaming cameras that are available 365, 24/7 of the election process.
If thousands of election workers across the country rigged the 2020 election for Joe Biden, they would have had to do it in front of thousands of observers, members of the public, and other election workers without getting caught.
We know in 2020 that there were no real irregular voting patterns.
There were more than 150 million votes cast in the 2020 election. While there were some cases of voter fraud in 2020, the number was so tiny it wouldn't have been enough to change the outcome of the election. In one of the most sweeping investigations into voter fraud cases across the country, the Associated Press found fewer than 475 voter fraud cases in 6 battleground states. Those disputed ballots represented 0.15% of Biden's victory margin in those states. States also take steps to make sure that ballots have been accurately counted.
You know, when I'm out talking to the public, I talk about how we do the logic and accuracy test, the public logic and accuracy test on the front end, and then we do the audit on the back end. And I'll ask people to raise their hand. How many of you knew that we did the public logic and accuracy test, and then we did the public post-election audit? And nobody will raise their hand. And then I ask them, how many of you heard we should conduct an audit after the 2020 election? And half the room will raise their hand. But you know, we confirm that those results are accurate. And that happens in a lot of other states too.
So it would be extremely hard to steal an election, and there is no proof to back up the idea that the election was rigged. Donald Trump and his allies have lost more than 60 lawsuits claiming the election was rigged. Many of them collapsed because the plaintiffs failed to prove the fraud they were alleging.
So I think it's really important to note that judges from around the United States, many of them appointed by Republican administrations, and many of them specifically Trump-appointed judges as well, ruled ultimately in the favor of the election results as they stood on election night and in the days after in 2020.
You know, none of the allegations of widespread election fraud have been substantiated. As you know, there's been lawsuits, there's been so-called documentaries that have been debunked, and there's been outside audits that have been conducted by other companies. And time after time, our election results and the election process has stood the test and showed that there wasn't any widespread fraud.
No matter what it comes down to is we have to trust in our processes. Because if we don't trust our processes, what do we have? And the people are in place to ensure that the processes are trustworthy. The laws are in place. The criminal penalties are in place. We've been doing this now for almost 250 years, and we've been doing it successfully.
What other questions do you have about how elections work? Let us know in the comments, or send this video to a friend or family member who you think would find it helpful.